Hey guys, I don't know if you can see this clearly or not. Can someone, I guess, drop a note there to let me know if you can see it? I don't know if the camera's focusing, to be honest with you. Okay. Hi, Katrina. Hi, Candy Stitches. Okay, so you guys can see all right. Okay, I couldn't tell if it was focusing or not because I've got my phone very precariously perched in front of me. So hi everybody, I just had 40 minutes or so that I was going to stitch on my Canada sampler this afternoon, and I thought I would do a bit of a, I guess, stitch with me. So this is a piece, anybody who's watched my videos, you know that I have been working on 2 of these samplers at the same time. So I'm catching up on this one. So I basically have a motif here that I'm going to fill in, and I'm going to stitch in a little maple leaf here that I'm going to stitch in, and then that's where we're going to leave that. So as long as everybody can see, and we're all good. Okay. So I hope everyone's been well. Hi, Sweet Stitcher. Hi, Kate's Crafting Corner. Rags to Stitches. Lisa. Hi, Lisa. I am going to pull out some threads here. I'm going to stitch with 666. Isn't that just a fantastic number? That's what I'm going to use to complete this little maple leaf thing here first. My mouth is so sore. I went to the dentist this morning and had, like, you know, the 6-month cleaning and checkup done, and oh my God. She did a number on my mouth, let me tell you. So my teeth are sore, my mouth is sore. And of course, I got a knot in my floss, very first thing, right? It's always the way. My goodness. Let's see, here we go. Got it out. So I hope everyone's been well. We're having a beautiful day here today. It is gorgeous out. It's a really lovely fall day. Yes, Rags to Stitches, I completely agree. I have anxiety about the dentist as well. Funny enough, like I never did. I never used to have any anxiety at all about going to the dentist. And I guess, I don't know when it started, but it seems like the older I get, the worse I am. And I think it's because I've never really had to have anything done with my teeth, and I'm afraid I'm going to have something done, so I have a real fear there. Hi, Michelle, Bendy Stitchy. Yeah, it's not pleasant. But anyway, I do go for my regular cleanings just so that I can, you know, stay on top of it, and then I don't have to get anything done. So the cleanings aren't too bad, but my mouth bothers me afterwards. So yeah, gorgeous fall day here today. It's absolutely beautiful. And I'm still off today and tomorrow. So I don't go back to work until Thursday night, which is fantastic. So my son just got home from school, and it was a bit quiet here in the house. So I said I'd take the opportunity to work a little bit on my sampler, my Stitchrovia sampler, and have a quick chat with you guys. Hi, Betty. I did put up a short video, just like a couple minutes long, a few days ago, for anyone who has questions that they wanted me to answer about my stitching, or I don't know, the way I do stuff, or because I often get questions every time I upload a video, and I usually try to respond directly to the person in the comments and write back to them. But I thought it would be nice to do a Q&A video. So if anybody watching this has any particular Q&As that you want me to answer, you can always go to my other video that I just put up. It's like a minute long or something, and just put a comment on there with the question. And I'm actually going to do a Q&A video in like 2 weeks, and I'll cover everything there that's been asked of me. This is a really cute design. I love this Stitch Rovia piece. It's the Canada sampler from Stitch Rovia, and it's got so many cute little motifs in it. I usually take this one back and forth to work, so it's an easy travel piece. Which is why I'm stitching it on a hoop. Because again, easy travel piece. Oh, got a knot on the back of my fabric. I can feel it. There we go. So I finished the Canada Goose. I have that done. I know Bendy Stitchy doesn't like Canada Geese. She prefers... It's a bird, I think, that is similar to a Canada Goose, but it migrated further south to Hawaii, and it's called something different, but I can't remember what it's called. And I haven't looked them up to see... Oh, the Nene, that's right. That's right, that's what you call them, the Nene. Are they really that much different looking from the Canada Goose? I'm going to have to Google them and see what they look like. So yeah, I finished the Canada Goose, and I got that stitched. The hockey skate, of course, because you can't have a Canada sampler without a hockey skate. And the wheat. This is the Toronto Maple Leafs logo for their hockey team. So this is just a little, I guess, filler maple leaf that they've got here, just so there won't be blank spaces. So I'm just going to finish stitching that in. And then I'm going to work on the Hudson's Bay Company logo, which is right above it. So it's also cute because on the top of this sampler, the peak of the maple leaf, because this sampler is shaped like a maple leaf, and the top of the maple leaf, the top point is actually a band of birds in a V formation, and that's how Canada geese fly. They always fly in a V formation. And they don't ever fly in any other sort of pattern. They always fly as a flock, and they fly in a V all the time. Okay. So I'm coming to the end of this maple leaf here. I was working on Jay's Folk Witch last night, and I got a pretty good start on the 5th page. Hi, Marla, in Washington. Yeah, I got a pretty good start on Jay's Folk Witch on the 5th page last night, so I'm just going to stitch on this sampler for, I don't know, 40 minutes or so. this afternoon, and then I'll go get some dinner prepared, and I'll work on Jay's Folk Witch again tonight. Hi, Jessie Marie. It's too warm in Virginia. Yeah, it's not too warm here. It is warm. It's a beautiful day here, but it is not what I would call warm anymore. If you hear any odd noises in the background, like big, long sighs, that's my boxer. She's having a snooze on the leather love seat. Hi, Brenda. I'm trying to keep an eye on the comments as well as my stitching. So, all right, and I think that's the last stitch for this little leaf. Oh, hi, yeah, Katrina, I guess it is cold in Denmark, isn't it? We're normally much colder already this time in September, but we've really lucked out on the weather this year. We had a fabulous summer, and we're having an excellent fall so far, but they are calling for abnormally high snowfall accumulation for us this winter. So I suspect we're going to be in for a brutal winter. We're going to pay back all of that nice weather that we had. Oh, Lisa, you can see your breath in the air this morning. Ooh, that is chilly. By the way, your thing that you asked me to have Darren make, Lisa, that is, I think it's done. So when I'm done here, I'll give him a ring at the shop, and if it's finished, I'll get him to bring it home tonight so I can get that out in the mail to you tomorrow. If not tomorrow, it'll be out to you the next day, because I'm pretty sure he has that done. But yeah, seeing your breath in the air, it's not that cold here yet. Normally it is, but we've been doing pretty good. Hi, Sinead from Ireland. My best friend's from Ireland. She lives here now. She's been here for 9 years, but she's from, where is she from? She's from a little town that's like outside of Cork. Because I think when she flies home, she flies into Cork, and then she drives like an hour outside of that to get to where she lives. Do I travel with my threads from one area to another? You mean on the sampler? Is that what you're asking? Not really. I'll show you the back. I don't care about showing the back of my work. There's the back. You know, there's not like, I don't carry like from the neck to the legs, for example, on the goose, or the neck to the back. I end my thread, and I don't carry from one letter to the next, only because I'm stitching this on white Aida, and I'm afraid that in the frame you would see the darker thread through the fabric once it's all done and washed and cleaned and pressed. So yeah, I don't tend to carry my threads from motif to motif. I'll end them off. Now the next color, I am going back to do the Hudson Bay Company logo. So I'm going to need what color for that? I'm going to need, oh, I can use the same red. Perfect. It's the same thing with my Death by Cross Stitch and my Big Red Ship of Life. I don't tend to carry the threads a whole lot on the back because I'm stitching those on 25 count Lugana, and I'm stitching them 1/1, and I don't want the thread to show through. So I don't tend to carry on those a whole lot. On my Heaven and Earths or my full coverage pieces, I will carry the threads a little bit, but I've always been a little bit of a stickler for ending off my threads. I don't tend to carry them too far. Hi, Jenny. Greetings from Mexico. Or greetings to Mexico, I should say. So, let's see. Now I have to count. I have to try and figure out where this starts. Once I get that sorted, I can pretty much stitch. Let's see. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Just want to make sure I'm putting this in the right spot. Yep. I'm going to stitch this one from bottom to top, just because it's easier to count from here than it is for me to count all the way up here and then chance miscounting something. So I'll stitch this one from the bottom up. Hope I'm staying in camera. Oh, I'm probably over a little bit. There we go. This is hard to do. It's hard to kind of remember trying to make sure that I keep this in, I guess, in focus or in the viewfinder for you guys. When I start Sweet Stitcher, when you start a thread, how long do you start with? If I'm stitching 1/1, I'll only cut a piece of thread maybe about 10 to 12 inches long, because I find that the thread gets really thin on the ends. If I'm stitching 2/1, like I'm doing here on Ada, I will probably cut my thread about 18 inches, because it's about it's about 18 inches, I guess. And then I fold it in half. I'm just guesstimating. I've never actually measured it. I just kind of pull it out to a certain arm's length, like a certain reach from my bobbin or from my thread. Like I keep my thread in baggies, right? So, because life's too short to bobbinate. I used to bobbinate all the time, and but doing full coverage pieces and stuff, you have so many threads that you have to bobbinate that I said, no, life's too short for this. So I just throw my floss in baggies now, and I find it so much better. I think that's as far up as I need to go. 5, yeah, that's it. Okay. Have I tried any thread conditioners? No. I don't like the idea of coating my floss in something. I've never had a lot of trouble with my stitches. I've never, I mean, yes, your floss will tangle every once in a while on itself, but that's not that big of a deal. I tend to untwist my thread as I'm going. I don't railroad a whole lot when I'm using a hoop, but if I'm stitching like on my stand, I'll use my laying tool. But even without that, like I don't use a thread conditioner. Never have, never will. I just don't like the idea of coating my floss in something. And I know some people use beeswax, which leaves a residue. It leaves a sticky residue. And you have to clean some of that off before you can actually stitch with the floss. And again, life's too short for me to be, putting stuff on my thread and then wiping stuff off my thread. Not going to happen. And with the manufactured stuff like Thread Heaven or, what's another one? This Magic, what is it called? Magic something. Anyway, it's a chemical compound. I don't like the thought of putting something on my thread that I don't know what's going to happen with it. And I also don't like the fact that, like, I've seen people who say, I'm just going to use Thread Heaven for an example, but I know there's others out there. But Thread Heaven tends to be the most popular one, I think. I've seen other people who use Thread Heaven and, like, let's say you put some red floss through the Thread Heaven and then you go back and you want to use, like a cream colored floss and you put that through the Thread Heaven and it transfers color onto your lighter floss from the darker floss. I don't like the idea of that. I really don't. I know Teresa, from Australia, she had that happen with her Haid. Like she was stitching a Cinderella piece and it was a lot of creams and whites and black and gray because it's a monochromatic sort of Haid. And her thread that she was stitching with the whites and the creams, there's a section in the Haid like where you can see the thread looks dirty. And that's what is blamed it on. It's the the color, I guess the fuzzies coming off of her darker threads into Thread Heaven and then it transferring to the lighter threads. So yeah, no, and again, like I know Allie says the same thing from Allie's Stitching Studio. Like she said, yes, it's been around for years, but who's to say 20 years from now that your framed piece under glass, that conditioner is not going to weep out of your floss in some way and transfer to the fabric or I don't know. It's dubious. I don't trust it. And we'll just leave it at that. I mean, I know there's a lot of people who use it and they probably love it and that's great, but for me, it's just not my thing. Yeah. Yeah, life is too short. Oh, I just saw Matthew said, with your floss and baggies, how do you store your works with lots of colors? Okay. Shoe boxes. I have a shoe box or a small box for my baggies. And basically, I'll put my baggies in numerical order like that, and they all just stand up in the shoe box. And I'll even put the symbol for the piece I'm stitching on. I'll just stick it on the baggie with a little sticky, which can be removed later on when I want to use it for something else. So yeah, they just all go in a shoe box. And I have a large case that I have a couple of rows of baggies all in just to keep them organized for like my full stash. And then I just pull from there. So next color I need, let's see. I need color 822. 822, here we go. Yep, picture boxes. You can get those at the craft stores or at like one of the dollar stores. Anything like that works for your for the baggies. Because these baggies are not floss away bags, right? I have kids, so these are just like the regular standard snack bags, and they fit an index card. Now, yes, there's extra room on either side, but not enough that it gets in the way, or that it, you know, that it doesn't work. So I just buy a pack of index cards at the dollar store and use that. Yeah, and the snack bags are much cheaper because I just get them in a huge box at the dollar store. Especially when I've got so many full coverage. See you, Katrina. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you. So next color is 822. I got to put a strip of that here on either side. These Stitch Rovia pieces are great for using up Ada. I love these stitched on Ada. I've got a couple other Stitch Rovia pieces that I want to stitch as well eventually. But I just love the look of those pieces on Ada. So is anyone else actually stitching this afternoon? It's afternoon here, by the way. It's like, I don't even know what time of the day it is. It is 10 to 4. So if anyone else is stitching, let me know what you're stitching on. Oh, Betty, you're stitching on a Hade. And Sinead is stitching on a Hade. That's funny, Bendy Stitchy. Yeah, trying to race me. Yeah, it'll be like our own tour to stitches here. Oh, you're working on your Tiny Modernist, Sal. I did see your pictures on Instagram for that. Window with a view. That is a nice Hade. I've seen that. I got too many full coverage pieces. It's ridiculous. I'm like addicted to them. Oh, Frosted Pumpkin Stitchery. Oh, Lisa, your band sampler. That is beautiful, by the way. Losing the will to live. Yeah, I haven't done much with specialty stitches, so I can see how, you know, they can get a bit tedious. Yeah, I'm a real full coverage addict. It's ridiculous. I think I've got, I want to say 6, but I think it's more like 8 that that I have stitches in. But I only have a few that I'm actively working on right now because I do want to finish a couple of them. I know it's possible because I did my dad's piece in less than a year, and that was full coverage. And so I know, if I focus on a piece, I can get it done in a year. And then my other pieces, like this sort of thing, I tend to take back and forth to work to stitch on when it's quiet in the nighttime on night shift because it keeps me awake. So right now I'm focusing on Jay's Folk Witch piece, and I'm focusing on my Record Girls piece because I'm sick to death of working on that and it not being finished. Because I started that the same year I started my dad's piece. Like I could have had that done ages ago if I had worked on it consistently. So, oh, I gotta set stitch in that. Nope. So I have to, I want to get that done. And then the next one I want to focus on after that is my Christmas Carol Haid, because I absolutely love that piece. And I'd like to see that done. And my Old World Map by Haid as well. How do I rotate project, Sinead says. Do I have a schedule? I used to have a schedule, and my rotation was basically, I would do one of my Haids for a week, and then Record Girls for a week, and then another one of my Haids for a week, and then Record Girls for a week, and then my Mirabilia Santa for a week, and then back to Record Girls for a week. Like that. I was doing Record Girls every second week. Oh my Lord, Jessie Marie. You better find that needle. You wouldn't want to sit on it or step on it. So yeah, I was doing that as a schedule, but since I've picked up Jay's Folk Witch piece, I'm kind of focusing on that and Record Girls at the moment, and I'm just rotating back and forth between the two of them with a few smaller pieces like this thrown in. Matthew asked me what happened to the piece that I was doing by the local artist. I still have that. I did start it in 10 stitches and decided I didn't like it. So I restarted it in full crosses. That is still in my collection to be done. It's not a UFO, but I had been working on it a little bit at work until I started these Canada samplers. And this has kind of become a project for me that I want to get done sooner rather than later. So some of my other pieces, they just didn't have a choice. I had to put them on the back burner for now. But as I get like my Canada samplers finished, I'll go back to picking those up. Oh, perfect, Jessie Marie. Glad you found that. You're right, it wouldn't be a very nice surprise for hubby when he got home if you're sitting in his seat. So yeah, so I've switched up my rotation a bit over the last while. The summer, I kind of fell off the bandwagon with my rotation just because it was summer and I was able to, I kind of just stitched on whatever I wanted to stitch on when I stitched on it. So, and my work schedule is going to change a little bit, I think, in the coming months because I'm going to be doing some training. We have some new recruits that we're hiring, and I will be doing the classroom training portion with them, teaching them how to do what I do for, I think their training is 7 weeks in classroom. So, and then they have, you know, a bunch of time on the floor with operators double plugged and things like that. So, but I'm going to be doing the teaching for the training for the classroom portion, I believe. So that's going to change my schedule. So instead of me working shift work, couple days, couple nights, that sort of thing, I will probably be doing all days, 8 to 4, Monday to Friday. Don't know how I feel about that yet. Because I do really enjoy my shift work. I don't know if I could go back to a regular 9 to 5, Monday to Friday job, actually. Okay, that's done. Let's tie that off. What did I do with my scissors? No, I've misplaced my scissors. Here they are. Angie, you're right. It's going to be a shock to the system. I haven't worked like I do 2 day shifts, which are 8 to 8 days, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. And then I do 2 night shifts, 8 o'clock at night to 8 in the morning. And so to change that to 5 days of getting up for 8 a.m. is going to be odd. And I'm ignoring my house phone that's ringing. So they can leave me a message or call me back later. How many stitches do I go under when I tie in? On something like this, I'll just go under, you know, hang on, let me show you the back. So if I have a section like this, I'll just go under, you know, what's that, like a half dozen stitches there. That's about it. If I have a longer section, I might go under a larger strip, but typically the least I'll go under is 4 or 5, and they hold fine. I've never had any issues with stitches coming out. And yes, Kate, it is nice to be off when other businesses are open. Like today, I went to the dentist at 10 a.m. in the morning and came home. I got out of there like 11, and it was great. And I just find that like my shifts are 2 day shifts, 2 night shifts, and then 4 days off. So I do 2 days, 2 nights, 4 off, 2 days, 2 nights, 4 off. It's like a continuous rotation. So to now have to do Monday to Friday with only Saturday and Sunday off. I mean, I know I'm only working 8-hour days too. So that'll make a difference instead of 12s. I'm used to 12-hour shifts, but still. I don't know. It is what it is. Now let's see. 1, 2, 3. 2, 3. I think that's right. Yep. This is probably not the best color to be stitching with on a Stitch With Me video, is it? Cream on white. So it'll be nice for a change, I suppose. Change in my work schedule. It's a nice break. Yeah, Sinead, I have seen a couple of charts recently that I'd like to buy. Nothing HAID related or full coverage related. I think I kind of have my, I have enough of those at the moment. Because I even have a couple of HAIDs that I haven't even started yet. And I'm not big, I'm not enabled a lot. Like, I watch a lot of Flosstube. I try to comment on videos as much as I can, but sometimes if I'm watching it through my TV and while I'm stitching, it's too much trouble to like stop the video and then get my iPad and put in a comment and then go on to the next video, because when I put it on my TV, it's just on autoplay. Now, if I'm watching it from my iPad, I'll typically always leave a comment. But anywho, I do watch a lot of Flosstube, but I don't tend to, I guess, get enabled a lot. However, that being said, McKenna has started this Plague Doctor, and I don't know what possessed me, because most of my stitching is not macabre, type stitching, but there are certain eerie or creepy charts that I do like. Like, I like the Salem charts, but I haven't purchased any of those yet. Like the Salem Sisters, like there's a couple of those charts that I really like. But this Plague Doctor chart, I wanted it, and anyway, I didn't bother to wait. I just went ahead and bought it. So I had a really rough week last week at work. As anyone seen my Instagram, I guess, would know, we had two really, I guess, rough rounds at work back to back with several fatalities and things like that. And then we lost one of our coworkers with PTSD. He passed away of suicide. And so I had a really rough week. And I came home from a 12-hour shift, and I bought the plague doctor while I was at work on my break. I came home and cut a piece of 18 count Ada that I had that was scrap. And I spent from 8 o'clock that night to just about midnight using Vanna's bacon basted method and coffee/tea dyed my fabric and went ahead and started Plague Doctor just like I caught the plague. I fell hook, line, and sinker right over that. So Plague Doctor, that was one of the most recent ones that I wanted to see, and I didn't even wait. I just went right ahead and bought it, and now I've started it. So and I joined the Plague Doctor Sal group as well on Facebook. So oh, thanks, Sharon. Yeah, we put in a rough week at work that week. And unfortunately, that's all too much a reality in my... Am I in camera? I'm not even in camera. That's all too much a reality, unfortunately, in my line of work. So, that's actually my third colleague in, I want to say 16 months. That's my third colleague in 16 months that we've had pass from suicide. So, yeah, it's difficult. But anyway, life goes on, and you hug the ones you love, and you be thankful for everything that's going right in your own life. So, what do I do for work? I am a dispatcher, primarily police dispatching. But we also dispatch fire and ambulance as well. And of course, I live in Canada, so and Canada's split into provinces. And I actually am a dispatcher for the entire province. So we don't dispatch we don't take emergency calls and dispatch for just one particular city or area. Like we answer calls for the entire province and dispatch for the entire province. So it's stressful, but it's really good work. I really enjoy it, and I like that it's always changing. You never know what you're going to get when you pick up the phone. I love thinking on my feet and that sort of thing. And I love the fast-paced environment of it. It is very intense, but I enjoy it. And, I like the fact that when I'm done my job, I can just take my headset off and walk out. And come home. But, some people aren't that lucky, and things stay with them longer, and they carry things with them that they just can't get past. So, so far I've been one of the lucky ones. I've dealt with rough situations, but I haven't, it hasn't, I guess, I don't want to say it hasn't affected me, but it doesn't, it doesn't play on my mind the same. So yeah, so 2 of the people we lost this year were officers, and one of the people we lost this year was a dispatcher like myself. And yes, stitching is really soothing. It is One of those things that no matter how bad my day has been, like, it's so relaxing. That's why I take it to work as well. So if we're not busy in the night times, you know, some people watch TV, some people stitch, or sorry, some people read. I can't read at work in the middle of the night because, like, reading to me is something I do before I go to bed at night. So if I read at work, I feel like my body's trying to wind down. Anyway, so I stitch. So I take my cross stitch to work because it keeps me alert enough. But yet, you know, I can just toss it aside when the phone rings, and I can always just pick it right back up when I'm done my call. So it's relaxing, but at the same time, it keeps me focused. So that's why I enjoy stitching at work when I can. And I love stitching at home because same sort of thing. It's a great stress reliever. Just reading some of the comments there. So yeah, so I am almost done with this cream color. My gosh, I've been on here for 52 minutes. That can't be right. 52 minutes of me waggling on about nothing, really. So yeah, for those of you who don't know, I live in Newfoundland, which is the most eastern province in Canada. Thus my accent. Where I sort of sound Canadian, but I don't really sound Canadian, if that makes sense. Yes, Betty, the doctor one, I think including the black, I think it's 7 colors in total. The majority is the black. I know McKenna is stitching the Plague Doctor all in black. She's not doing any of the other colors. I only sometimes sound Canadian. Yeah, very true. Newfoundlanders, we have a very distinct dialect here. And it's mostly because Newfoundland is an island, and we're not connected to the mainland at all. In order for me to go anywhere on vacation, I either have to drive 9 hours across the province to catch an 8-hour ferry to get me to Nova Scotia, which would be the closest point on the mainland, or I have to fly. Oh, Matthew, your parents were just on a cruise that went to St. John's. So I work in St. John's. That's the city I work in. That's where my work is, but I live just outside the city. So yeah, so we're an island, and we were settled mostly by English, Irish, and some Scottish ancestors that came across the pond, so to speak. They came across the Atlantic and settled here. So different parts of the province have different dialects. There's actually, it's really interesting, but, well, I don't know, it's probably not interesting to some people, but there's actually 49 separate dialects just in this one province alone. So it's to the point that when I hear someone speak, I can tell if they're from the southern shore of the province, or if they're from, Labrador, or if they're from the West Coast. because our dialects are all different. Okay. So that color is done. I'll tie that one off. Okay. So far, so good. Hi, Suzanne. Yeah, Sinead, you're not the first person to have said that to me, actually. And it's funny because my girlfriend who lives here from Ireland, gosh, I'm trying to remember what county she's from. Like I said, it's like outside Cork, but her Irish accent is even different from her brother's Irish accent. And I think that's probably because she's lived here now for 9 years as well. So Jane's accent is like, it's like this soft, lilting Irish accent. But her brother's accent is... Her brother's accent is much more harsh. Like it's like a broader, I don't know, sounding Irish accent. It's hard to explain. Yeah, Heather, I grew up in different areas of the province, and I think that's why I have so many different influences on my dialect. I was born and raised on the West Coast, and then I lived in Labrador for a year, and then moved back to the West Coast, and then moved to the East Coast, but not near the city. I lived in a little small town, as we would refer to it, round the bay, which is a town that's like a fishing village, I guess, a small, very small town. And my parents still live there, but I only lived there for 3 years before I moved into the city for university. And then met my husband, and now I live outside the city. So my accent's a bit of all over the province, really. Hi, Marina. Nice of you to join us. I'm just stitching on my Stitch Rovia Canada sampler. And I'm going to try and finish this Hudson's Bay logo if I can. I don't know if I'll have enough time because I've already been on here an hour, and that's ridiculous. I've been on here an hour waffling about nothing. So I have a feeling I may just do this blue and do a give up on trying to get this logo finished. Oh, Suzanne, you've got family from Quebec and Montreal. That's awesome. So one of the provinces I haven't actually visited yet. Now, my kids are bilingual. My kids speak French and English fluently. My husband also speaks French, but he was born in New Brunswick, another province in Canada, and they're actually a bilingual province. And he attended French immersion school in a French-speaking only school. My kids do French immersion since kindergarten. So they spoke all French at school, but they speak all English at home. Well, my daughter's graduated now. She graduated high school just over a year ago. She has a year of university done now. And my son is actually in grade 11. So he has this year and next year left of high school, and then he's done. And no, you're right, Suzanne. It doesn't hurt to have two languages. Absolutely. Actually, it's funny. My husband, he hasn't really used his French in years. But it's funny because he hasn't really lost it. We went to, and he's also one of these people that, you know, no matter where we go, so he always runs into somebody that he knows from somewhere. So I think it was 3 years ago. 3 years ago, we took our kids to Florida and we went to Disney. And I guess the last day that we were in Disney, we went to Animal Kingdom, and we were going to, I don't know if we were going to go to do the safari. I think we were going to do the safari. Oh, Emily, that's not good. I've had that happen. Huge knot when you're trying to pull a strand of floss out. Yeah, not fun. Anyway, we were in Animal Kingdom, and hubby, you know, we were going to go on the safari ride, which lasts a while. So we all said, okay, before we go do that, let's everybody take a bathroom break. So he and my son go to, you know, the men's washroom on the left. Emma and I go to the women's washroom on the right. And our plan was to meet outside, just there next to a kiosk. And anyway, my daughter and I came out and we stood there and we waited and no sign of my husband. And then my son comes out of the washroom and I said, "Where's Dad?" And he said, he said he's still in the bathroom. And I was like, oh, okay. So anyway, next thing, out comes husband out of the bathroom and he's chatting away with some random guy. And anyway, so as they get closer, I realize that he's talking to him in French. They're just both, you know, putting the chat right to each other. Anyway, this other guy leaves and I look at my husband and I said, leave it to you to come all the way to Orlando and find somebody that you know. And he goes, oh no, I don't know this guy. So he didn't know this guy at all, okay? This guy's from like Montreal or something. And my husband had heard him speaking French in the washroom, like French Canadian. And Darren just happened to, you know, as they were leaving or something, he happened to say something to this guy in French, and then they just struck up a conversation. And the guy said, oh, you're Canadian? And my husband was like, yes, we're from Newfoundland. And anyway, leave it to a Newfie to end up, you know, in Orlando and strike up a conversation with some random person speaking French in a bathroom. Anyhow. That's it for the blue. On to the next color. What have we got here now? That is going to be yellow, I think. 444 maybe? I think it's 4, yeah. Oh my goodness, it's so quiet in my house. It's like a luxury. Yes, I'm a floss licker. don't use a threader or anything like that. Old-fashioned way. I just figure it's, you know, it's a bit of my DNA in my cross stitch. That's right, Sharon. Natural floss conditioner. Hi, Mary. Yes, that does make sense. I'm the same sort. I find that some of the Stitch With Me videos, I enjoy them, but I can only watch them for a little while because I don't tend to watch them right through to the end because I'm stitching and I can only watch somebody else stitch for so long before I want to stitch myself. Does that make sense? Yes, you're absolutely right, Stitch in Korea. It would be a lot more fun if we could all hang out. What have I got done here? There. I have like 100 things going through my head all at the one time while I'm stitching. I'm sitting here thinking, okay, I just have like 2 more rows to do, this one and one more, and the logo is done. Then I'm also thinking, what should I make for supper tonight? We call it supper here instead of dinner. We also say dinner, but... Oh, Linda, that's you. Nice to see you. Yeah, so I got like 100 things going through my head all at the one time. So I'm trying to think about what to have for supper. I think, yeah, we call it supper here instead of dinner. We do say dinner, but we also call lunch dinner. Does that make any sense? So a lot of times we'll say breakfast, dinner, and supper rather than breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So... all right, that row is done. One more row to do. So I might as well finish this logo before I go, right? Why not? Okay, last color. Last color is green, 937. I wonder if that piece is going to be long enough to work with. We'll try it, see what happens. Okay. Last row, people. Let's finish this logo. This logo is for the Hudson Bay Company. You can Google them. If you're not Canadian, you might not know what they are, but I think they're one of the longest, if not the longest, incorporated company in Canada. I think they just go by the Bay now, but they were always called the Hudson's Bay Company. And they used to do a lot of work with hunters and trappers back in the day, which was a big trade. Now, what have I got going on there? It looks like I put my stitch over too far. Yep. Let's try that again. That looks better. So yeah, as I said earlier, when I first started this live stream, I put up a video about a week ago, maybe not even a week ago, a couple of days ago. It's only a couple minutes long, just about looking for suggestions for Q&A. So if anyone has a question or something that they would like me to answer during my Q&A, just go to that video and post your question in the comments section, and I will be more than happy to answer them when I do the Q&A video. I think I'm going to do that in a couple of weeks. Hi, Amy. Now my floss is getting short. Do we think we can get these last 3 stitches in? Or will I have to end it off and start another piece just for like 1 stitch? Don't you hate it when that happens? You're playing floss roulette. Stitch. Can I make it? Ooh, down to the bitter end of the floss. Ta-da! Last stitch done. So that is the Hudson Bay logo. Emily, you had to start a piece of floss for a half a stitch? Oh, that's funny. So I will tie this one off. Run it through a few stitches there. Make sure the tail's not going to come out of my needle. There we go. All done. Well, thanks everyone for hanging out with me. It was nice reading the comments and stuff while I was stitching. It was definitely nice interacting with everyone. Hi, Karen. So yeah, there we go. So the logo is all done, and I've got the little maple leaf in, and I finished the goose earlier today. I haven't been to New York, Amy, but I know there are stitching stores in New York. You might want to try posing the question on Stitch Mania, the Facebook group. Some people might be able to help you out there. Anyway, everybody, have a good evening. Bye.